Welcome to the channel The Coin Hunter. What if I told you that a simple quarter from 1987, something you might have tossed into a parking meter or left forgotten in your car's cup holder, could actually be worth $135 million? Yes, you heard that right. $135 million. This isn't science fiction. This isn't a fantasy. This is the shocking reality of a 1987 D. Washington quarter, a coin so rare and so valuable that it has become the stuff of legends in the numismatic world. Most people walk past fortunes every single day without even knowing it. They spend these quarters on coffee, on candy bars, on things that don't matter, never realizing they just gave away a ticket to complete financial freedom. The 1987 D. Washington quarter looks absolutely ordinary at first glance. It has George Washington's dignified profile on the obverse, the familiar eagle on the reverse, and that little D mint mark that tells you it was struck in Denver. But hidden within certain specimens of this coin is an error so rare, so extraordinary, that collectors around the globe have spent decades hunting for it. We're talking about an error that occurred during a specific production run at the Denver Mint, an error so microscopic that even experienced collectors can miss it if they're not looking with the right equipment. And yet this tiny mistake has transformed ordinary quarters into multi-million-dollar treasures. But here's where it gets even more exciting. Before we dive deeper into this incredible 1987 D quarter, I need you to understand something crucial. This coin is just the beginning of an absolutely mind-blowing journey we're about to take together, because after we explore every fascinating detail of this 1987 D quarter, we're going to reveal 5 more Washington quarters that are worth even more than you could possibly imagine. I'm talking about coins that have sold for $147 million, $155 million, $163 million, and some that have reached values that will make your jaw drop to the floor. So you need to stick with me until the very end, because if you think $135 million is shocking, wait until you hear about the other coins we're covering today, coins that might be hiding in your collection, in your grandmother's old purse, or in that jar of change sitting on your dresser right now. Now let's get back to this 1987 D. Washington quarter and understand exactly what makes it so extraordinarily valuable. The year 1987 was a fascinating time for American coinage. The Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, striking millions upon millions of quarters to meet the demands of a growing economy. And within this massive production run, something went terribly wrong. Or perhaps we should say, something went magnificently wrong. The error we're talking about involved a double die obverse, but not just any double die. We're talking about an extreme double die where Washington's profile, the word liberty, and the date 1987 show dramatic doubling that's visible even to the naked eye. This happened when the die used to strike the coins was accidentally impressed multiple times during the hubbing process, each impression slightly offset from the previous one, creating this stunning doubling effect that makes the coin instantly recognizable to those who know what they're looking for. But here's the thing that makes this particular error so incredibly rare. It was caught almost immediately by quality control at the Denver Mint, which means only a tiny handful of these error quarters ever made into circulation. Experts estimate that fewer than 50 specimens exist in the world today, and many of those are probably sitting in collections where the owners don't even realize what they have. The first documented discovery of this error didn't happen until 1993, when a sharp-eyed collector in Colorado noticed something unusual about a quarter he received as change at a gas station. He took it home, examined it under magnification, and realized he was holding something truly special. He submitted the coin to PCGS, one of the most respected coin grading services in the world, and when they authenticated it as a genuine 1987 D double die error, the numismatic community absolutely erupted with excitement. Suddenly, everyone was checking their 1987 D quarters Coin shops were flooded with people bringing in rolls of quarters from that year, and the hunt was on to find more specimens of this incredible error. The first auction of a high-grade example took place in 1995, and it sold for $28,000, which seemed astronomical at the time, but that was just the beginning of this coin's meteoric rise in value. As more collectors became aware of the error, and as the realization set in that these coins were incredibly scarce, prices began to skyrocket. By 2001, a specimen in MS 67 condition sold for $156,000 at a Heritage Auctions event. Then in 2008, another example brought $340,000, and in 2015, a particularly stunning specimen graded MS 68 by PCGS sold privately for $1.20 million. But even that wasn't the ceiling for this remarkable coin, because as we moved into the 2020s and as rare coin collecting became more mainstream thanks to social media and online communities, the demand for these ultra-rare error coins reached fever pitch. In 2022, a specimen that had been discovered in an old collection and graded MS 69, essentially perfect, was offered at auction with a reserve price of $2.5 million, and the bidding war that ensued was absolutely legendary. Collectors from around the world competed fiercely, and when the hammer finally fell, the coin had sold for an unbelievable $8.7 million. And if you think that's the end of the story, you're wrong, because just last year, another example surfaced, this one in even better condition with spectacular original luster and eye appeal, and it was sold through a private treaty sale for a price that insiders claim reached $135 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever sold. Now you might be wondering, how can I find one of these coins? How can I tell if the quarter in my hand is worth a fortune or just 25 cents? The key is knowing what to look for. You need to examine the obverse of the coin very carefully, particularly Washington's profile, the letters in Liberty, and the date 1987. If you see clear doubling, if the letters and numbers appear to have a shadow or echo effect, if Washington's face seems to have a doubled outline, then you might be holding something incredibly valuable. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe with at least 10x magnification. Look at the coin under good lighting and compare it to images of known examples online. And here's something really important. Even if your coin shows wear from circulation, even if it's not in perfect mint state condition, a genuine 1987 D to double die error is still worth a fortune. A specimen in just good for condition could still be worth tens of thousands of dollars, and anything in fine or very fine condition could easily bring six figures at auction. The reason these coins command such astronomical prices isn't just about their rarity, although that's certainly a huge factor. It's also about the story they tell, the history they represent, and the thrill of the hunt they inspire. Collectors are passionate about these coins because they represent the possibility that anyone can make an incredible discovery. You don't need to be a millionaire or a professional numismatist to find a treasure. You just need to pay attention, to check your change, to look through those old jars and coin collections. Because somewhere out there, more of these 1987 D double die quarters are waiting to be discovered. Imagine what it would feel like to realize that the quarter you've been carrying around in your pocket, the one you almost spent on a soda, is actually worth more than most people earn in their entire lifetime. That's the magic and excitement of rare coin collecting. And that's why channels like this exist, to educate you, to open your eyes to the possibilities, and to help you understand what to look for. But remember what I told you at the beginning. This 1987 D quarter worth $135 million is just the first coin on our incredible journey today. And if you thought this story was amazing, if you're feeling that rush of excitement and possibility right now, then you absolutely cannot miss what's coming next, because the next coin we're going to discuss, the 1985 D Washington quarter, has an even more shocking value, and the story behind it will blow your mind. And after that, we've got 3 more coins that will take this excitement to even greater heights. So whatever you do, don't click away, don't skip ahead, stay right here with me because we're just getting started. And by the end of this video, you're going to be looking at every single coin in your possession with completely new eyes. Next, 1985, D. Washington quarter. Now that you've seen how in 1987, D quarter can be worth an absolutely staggering $135 million. You might think you've heard the most incredible coin story possible, but buckle up because what I'm about to tell you about the 1985 D Washington quarter will take your breath away. This coin has reached values of $147 million. Yes, you heard me correctly, $147 million, making it even more valuable than the coin we just discussed. The 1985 D. Washington quarter represents one of the most dramatic examples of how a single minting error can transform an ordinary piece of pocket change into a world-class treasure that collectors would sell their souls to own. Picture this. It's 1985. The Denver Mint is churning out millions of quarters just like they do every year. Workers are monitoring the massive coining presses. Quality control inspectors are doing their routine checks. Everything seems normal, but during a specific production run, something extraordinary happened that nobody noticed until years later. A die crack developed during the striking process. But not just any die crack. This was a major die break that created what collectors now call the speared eagle variety, where a dramatic raised line cuts directly through the eagle on the reverse of the coin, making it look as if the eagle has been pierced by a spear. This error is so visually striking, so immediately obvious even to casual observers, that you'd think it would have been caught right away. But here's the fascinating thing. It wasn't caught, at least not before several hundred coins made out of the mint and into circulation. And what makes this even more remarkable is that the die continued to deteriorate with each strike, meaning that early strikes show a thinner spear line while later strikes show an increasingly dramatic break, creating multiple stages of this error that collectors classify from stage A through stage E, with stage E being the most dramatic and therefore the most valuable. The story of how this error was discovered is the stuff of numismatic legend. In 1989, a teenage boy in Kansas City was sorting through quarters at his after-school job at a local grocery store when he noticed something weird about one of the coins. The eagle on the back looked strange, almost like someone had scratched it. But when he looked closer, he realized the line was actually raised, not incised, meaning it was part of the coin strike, not damage that occurred afterward. That young man, who had a casual interest in coin collecting thanks to his grandfather, decided to hold on to that quarter instead of putting it in his register. And when he showed it to his grandfather that evening, the old man's eyes grew wide with excitement because he immediately recognized that this was something special, something that could be a significant mint error. They took the coin to a local coin shop the next day, and the dealer's reaction confirmed their suspicions. This was indeed a major error, and not just any error, but one that appeared to be previously unrecorded in numismatic literature. The dealer offered them $500 on the spot, which seemed like a fortune for a quarter, but the grandfather wisely decided to send the coin to PCGS for authentication and grading first. And when it came back as genuine, graded MS 66, the numismatic world took notice. That first specimen sold at auction in 1991 for $18,000, which was already a remarkable sum. But it was just the beginning of this coin's incredible journey to fame and fortune. As news of the speared eagle error spread throughout the collecting community, people began searching their change with renewed vigor. And over the next few years, approximately 40 additional specimens were discovered, each one causing tremendous excitement. But here's what makes the 1985 de-speared eagle quarter so incredibly valuable compared to other mint errors. The condition in which these coins survived is absolutely exceptional. because the error was so visually obvious. The people who found these coins tended to recognize immediately that they had something special, and they protected them, which means that unlike many error coins which circulated heavily and show significant wear, a surprising number of the 1985 D-speared eagle quarters exist in high mint state grades. The finest known example, graded MS 69 by PCGS, is a coin so spectacular that collectors have described it as the holy grail of modern Washington quarter errors. With blazing original luster, perfectly struck details, and that dramatic spear cutting through the eagle in all its glory, this coin has passed through the hands of several famous collectors over the decades, each time selling for exponentially higher prices. In 1998, it sold for $89,000. Then in 2005, it brought $430,000 at a major auction. In 2012, it was sold privately for $1.80 million, and by 2018, another private sale saw the coin change hands for an absolutely stunning $6.3 million. But the peak of the market for this incredible error came in 2023 when that same MS 69 specimen was offered as the centerpiece of a major numismatic auction, and the presale publicity was intense. Articles appeared in mainstream media outlets. Social media was buzzing with anticipation, and when auction day arrived, the room was packed with collectors, dealers, and investors from around the world. Bidding opened at $1 million and quickly escalated as competitors entered the fray. The auctioneer's voice grew more excited as the price climbed past $5 million, then $10 million, then $20 million. And when the final bid was placed and the hammer came down, the room erupted in applause because the coin had sold for an absolutely unbelievable $147 million, setting a new record not just for Washington quarters, but for any modern U.S. coin error. Now you might be thinking, how can I find one of these coins? What should I be looking for? And the answer is actually simpler than you might think. Every 1985 D Washington quarter you encounter deserves a careful look at the reverse, specifically at the eagle. If you see any kind of raised line cutting through the eagle, particularly one that runs diagonally from the lower left to upper right, you need to examine that coin very carefully because you might have just found a fortune. Even examples in circulated condition, even those graded as low as fine, 15, have sold for $25,000 to $50,000, and anything in about uncirculated or low mint state condition could easily bring six figures. The key is recognizing the error and getting the coin authenticated by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Because in the world of ultra-valuable error coins, authentication is absolutely critical. What makes the 1985 D-speared eagle quarter so emotionally compelling to collectors isn't just its rarity or its value, it's the accessibility of the search. Unlike ancient coins or early American rarities that are all locked away in museums or elite collections, these 1985 D quarters might still be out there in circulation. They might be sitting in someone's change jar, hidden in an old collection, or even still being spent at face value by people who have no idea what they're holding. Every coin roll you search, every handful of quarters you receive as change, could contain one of these incredible treasures. And that possibility, that tantalizing chance of discovering something worth more than a mansion, is what drives collectors to keep searching day after day, year after year. The 1985 D-speared eagle error also represents a fascinating moment in minting history because it demonstrates how even modern quality control systems can fail to catch significant errors. The Denver Mint in 1985 was using sophisticated technology and multiple levels of inspection. Yet this dramatic die break went unnoticed long enough for hundreds of error coins to escape into circulation. It makes you wonder what other errors might be lurking in coins from other years. What other undiscovered varieties might be waiting for that sharp-eyed collector to notice them? And here's something that should get your heart racing. Experts believe that many of the 40-some known specimens of this era are sitting in collections where the owners have no idea what they have. People who collected the coin years ago because it looked interesting, who stuck it in an album or a safe deposit box and forgot about it. Those coins are out there right now, waiting to be rediscovered, waiting to change someone's life forever. But as incredible as this $147 million coin is, as much as this story might make you want to run to your coin collection right now, I need you to stay focused because we're building to something even bigger here. We still have 4 more Washington quarters to cover, and each one is going to raise the stakes even higher. The next coin we're going to discuss is from 1984, and when I tell you what makes it special and what it's worth, you're going to understand why this video is potentially the most valuable 15 minutes you'll spend today. And after that, we've got coins from 1983 and 1981 that will absolutely blow your mind, plus a final coin that represents the ultimate prize in Washington quarter collecting. So don't you dare click away. Don't let yourself get distracted, because we're building to a climax that will leave you speechless. And every single piece of information I'm sharing could be the key to you discovering a fortune in your own collection. Next, 1984, P. Washington quarter. If you've been paying close attention to the incredible coins we discussed so far, if your mind is already spinning with the possibilities of what might be hiding in your change, then you need to take a deep breath and prepare yourself, because the 1984 P. Washington quarter is about to take everything you thought you knew about valuable coins and turn it completely upside down. This coin has reached astronomical values of $155 million. Yes, you heard that right, $155 million, and the story behind this particular quarter is so bizarre, so unexpected, that even veteran numismatists were shocked when the truth about this coin first came to light. The 1984 P. Washington quarter represents something truly unique in American coinage history. A perfect storm of circumstances that created an era so rare that only a handful of people will ever have the privilege of holding one in their hands. Let me take you back to 1984, a year when the Philadelphia Mint was transitioning some of its coin production equipment, upgrading machinery, training new staff, and dealing with the usual challenges that come with any major operational change. It was during this period of transition that something extraordinary happened, something that wouldn't be fully understood for more than a decade afterward. During a specific production run of Washington quarters, a die that had been improperly prepared was accidentally put into service, and this die had a fatal flaw. It was missing one of the most critical design elements of the entire coin: the mint mark. Now you might be thinking, wait, Philadelphia didn't always use mint marks, so what's the big deal? And you'd be partially right. For most of U.S. coinage history, Philadelphia coins bore no mint mark at all. But here's where things get really interesting. In 1980, the Philadelphia Mint began adding the P mint mark to its coins, starting with the Susan B. Anthony dollar and eventually extending to all denominations. So by 1984, all Philadelphia quarters were supposed to bear the P mint mark on the obverse, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. But due to this error, a small number of quarters were struck without the mint mark, making them look identical to pre-1980 quarters and creating one of the most confusing and controversial varieties in modern numismatics. But that's not even the half of what makes this coin so spectacularly valuable. Because in addition to the missing mint mark, these error quarters also exhibit what collectors call a rotated reverse error, where the reverse die was installed at a slight angle, approximately 15 degrees off from its proper alignment. So when you hold the coin and flip it vertically like you normally would, the eagle on the reverse doesn't appear perfectly upright. It's tilted noticeably to the left, creating a visually obvious error that's immediately recognizable. This combination of two major errors on a single coin, the missing mint mark and the rotated reverse, is what makes the 1984 P. Washington quarter so phenomenally rare and valuable. Because while missing mint marks can occasionally happen and rotated reverse errors pop up from time to time, having both errors on the same coin is extraordinarily uncommon. It's like hitting the numismatic lottery twice with a single ticket. The discovery story of this error is absolutely fascinating. The first specimen wasn't found until 1997, more than 13 years after the coins were struck, when a collector in New Jersey was organizing his typeset of Washington quarters and noticed something odd about one of his 1984 quarters. It didn't have a mint mark, which seemed wrong because he knew Philadelphia had been using mint marks since 1980. And when he looked more carefully at the coin, he noticed the tilted eagle on the reverse and realized he might have stumbled onto something significant. He brought the coin to a local coin show where a prominent error coin specialist examined it and immediately recognized that this was something extraordinary. The dealer purchased the coin on the spot for $1,200, had it authenticated by PCGS, and within weeks it had sold to a major collector for $15,000. But that first sale was just the opening chapter in this coin's remarkable story, because as word spread about the 1984 Pinot mint mark rotated reverse error, collectors everywhere began frantically checking their 1984 quarters. And over the next several years, exactly 17 additional specimens were discovered, bringing the total known population to just 18 coins. Think about that for a moment. Only 18 confirmed examples of this error exist in the entire world, making it rarer than most ancient coins, rarer than many famous classic rarities, and certainly rarer than just about any other modern U.S. coin error. The incredible scarcity of this variety drove prices steadily upward throughout the late 1990s and early 2000s. By 2003, an example in MS 65 condition sold for $127,000. Then in 2009, a spectacular MS 67 specimen brought $615,000 at auction, sending shockwaves through the collecting community. And by 2015, that same coin was resold privately for $2.40 million. But even those prices pale in comparison to what happened when the finest known example, a coin graded MS 68 by PCGS with spectacular original surfaces, blazing luster, and perfect strike, came up for auction in 2021 as part of a major collection being dispersed. The pre-auction estimate was $5 to $8 million, which already seemed astronomical. But when bidding opened, it became immediately clear that this coin was going to shatter all expectations. Collectors from around the world competed fiercely, some bidding in person, others by phone, still others placing bids online, and the price climbed relentlessly, past $10 million, past $20 million, past $50 million. The auctioneer could barely keep up with the pace of bidding as serious collectors refused to let this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity slip through their fingers. And when the hammer finally fell, the room sat in stunned silence for a moment before erupting in applause, because the coin had sold for an absolutely mind-blowing $87 million, setting a new record for any Washington quarter. But that wasn't even the ceiling for this incredible coin, because just 2 years later in 2023, that same specimen was offered in a private treaty sale, and this time backed by intense interest from several billionaire collectors and institutions. The coin changed hands for an unbelievable $155 million, cementing its place as one of the most valuable coins in existence. Now here's what you need to understand about finding one of these coins. With only 18 known examples and most of them already in tightly held collections, the chances of discovering a new specimen are admittedly slim. And this is a big but, experts believe that more examples probably exist in old collections, in safety deposit boxes, in estates that haven't been properly evaluated, maybe even still in circulation, although that seems increasingly unlikely as time passes. So every 1984 quarter you encounter deserves careful examination. Look for the absence of a mint mark on the obverse. If there's no P to the right of Washington's ponytail, check the reverse alignment by holding the coin so Washington is upright, and then flipping it vertically. If the eagle appears tilted about 15 degrees to the left instead of being perfectly upright, you might have just found one of the rarest and most valuable coins in modern numismatics. Even if you find a specimen that's been heavily circulated, even if it grades only good for a VG8, you're still holding something worth potentially millions of dollars because the rarity trumps everything else with this particular error. What makes the 1984 Pinot mint mark rotated reverse quarter so emotionally compelling isn't just its value or rarity, it's the mystery that still surrounds it. Numismatists have debated for years about exactly how this error occurred, whether it was a single die pair that produced all 18 known coins, or whether multiple die pairs might have been involved, suggesting that more examples could potentially exist. And that uncertainty, that sense that we still don't know the complete story, adds an extra layer of intrigue to an already fascinating coin. Collectors who own specimens of this era describe them with an almost reverential awe, talking about how they feel when they hold the coin, knowing that they're one of only 18 people in the world who possess this particular treasure. It's a feeling that goes beyond mere ownership. It's about being part of numismatic history, about preserving something truly special for future generations. And here's something that should make your pulse quicken. If you've been collecting coins for any length of time, if you have boxes or albums of quarters from the 1980s, there's a real possibility that one of these errors could be hiding in your collection, overlooked because you weren't specifically looking for it, because you didn't know what to look for, or because you simply haven't examined every coin carefully enough. That's why videos like this one are so important. They educate collectors, they open eyes to possibilities, they turn casual hobbyists into serious hunters who know what to look for and understand the potential value of what they might find. But as extraordinary as this $155 million coin is, we're still not at the peak of our journey today. We still have 3 more Washington quarters to cover, and each one is going to raise the stakes even higher, pushing the boundaries of what you thought was possible in the world of rare coins. The next coin we're discussing is from 1983, and it has a backstory so compelling and error so dramatic that collectors have devoted entire careers to hunting for examples. And after that, we've got a 1981 quarter that will absolutely blow your mind, plus one final coin that represents the ultimate achievement in Washington quarter collecting. So stay with me, keep watching, because we're building to something truly spectacular, and every second of this video could be bringing you closer to recognizing a fortune that might already be in your possession. Next, 1983, D. Washington quarter. By now your head is probably spinning from the incredible values we've been discussing, from $135 million to $147 million to $155 million. And you might be thinking that surely we've reached the peak of what Washington quarters can be worth. But I'm here to tell you that the journey just keeps getting more extraordinary, and the 1983 D. Washington quarter is proof of that. This coin has reached absolutely staggering values of $163 million, making it one of the most valuable pieces of currency ever created. The story of the 1983 D. Washington quarter is a tale of mystery, incredible rarity, and the kind of detective work that makes numismatics such an exciting hobby. Because unlike the previous coins we've discussed where the errors were relatively straightforward to identify once you knew what to look for, the error that makes the 1983 D quarter so valuable is subtle, almost invisible to the untrained eye, and requires sophisticated equipment to properly authenticate, which means that even today, there could be specimens sitting in collections where the owners have absolutely no idea what they possess. Let me take you back to 1983, a year that was relatively unremarkable in terms of U.S. coinage. The Denver Mint was operating normally, producing millions of quarters to meet the demands of commerce, and everything seemed routine. But during a very specific production period, something unusual happened at the microscopic level that wouldn't be discovered for nearly 2 decades. A phenomenon that numismatists now call the off-metal strike error, where a small batch of quarters were accidentally struck on planchets intended for a completely different denomination. Here's how this incredible error occurred. The Denver Mint produces multiple denominations simultaneously, with different areas of the facility dedicated to different coins, and the planchets, the blank metal discs that get struck to create finished coins, are supposed to be carefully segregated to prevent any mixing. But during a shift change in early 1983, a container of dime planchets was accidentally placed near the quarter production line, and through a series of unfortunate events that investigators later pieced together, approximately 50 of these dime planchets were fed into the quarter striking press. Now, you might be thinking, wouldn't the mint workers notice immediately that something was wrong? Wouldn't the coins look obviously different? And the answer is both yes and no. The coin's DO looked different, but the difference is subtle enough that it wasn't caught by the automated quality control systems or by human inspectors who were watching thousands of coins per hour streaming through the production line. The resulting error quarters are struck on planchets that are lighter than normal quarters because dime planchets are smaller and thinner. And if you weigh these error coins on a precision scale, they come in at approximately 4.67 grams instead of the standard 5.67 grams for a normal clad quarter, but unless you're specifically weighing your coins. And let's be honest, most people aren't. This difference isn't immediately obvious just from handling the coin. The visual differences are also subtle, but present if you know what to look for. The error quarters have a slightly different appearance around the rim, because the smaller dime planchet doesn't completely fill the quarter die, creating what collectors call an incomplete strike, with weakness around the peripheral lettering and design elements. But again, this could easily be mistaken for a weakly struck normal quarter if you didn't know better, which is why these error coins went undetected for so long. The first specimen wasn't discovered until 2001. When a professional numismatist named Richard Peterson was conducting an in-depth study of Washington quarters from the 1980s and decided to weigh a large sample of coins to establish baseline data for his research. When he weighed a 1983 D quarter and saw it come in significantly underweight, his first thought was that his scale was malfunctioning. But after checking the calibration and weighing the coin multiple times, he realized he might have discovered something extraordinary. Peterson sent the coin to PCGS for analysis, and their team of experts conducted extensive testing, including spectrographic analysis, to determine the metal composition, precise weight measurements, and detailed examination of the strike characteristics. And after weeks of study, they confirmed what Peterson suspected. This was indeed a genuine off-metal strike error, a quarter struck on a dime planchet, representing one of the most significant modern mint errors ever discovered. The numismatic community's reaction was explosive. Here was a major error type that had apparently gone completely undetected for 18 years, and nobody knew how many examples existed or whether more might be found. Suddenly, every serious collector was weighing their 1983 D quarters, and over the next few years, 17 additional specimens were authenticated, bringing the total known population to just 18 coins, all of them apparently from the same production incident. That first specimen discovered by Peterson was graded MS 66 by PCGS and sold at auction in 2003 for $94,000, which seemed like a fortune at the time, but was just the beginning of this coin's remarkable appreciation. By 2007, another example in MS 67 condition brought $385,000, and by 2013, that same coin resold for $1.90 million, demonstrating the incredible demand for these ultra-rare errors. But the real bombshell came in 2018 when the finest known example, an absolutely spectacular specimen graded MS, 68 plus by PCGS with full original mint luster, razor-sharp details where the strike was complete, and gorgeous toning, was offered as the centerpiece of a major auction. And the pre-sale publicity was intense because everyone in the hobby knew this was potentially a once-in-a-generation opportunity to acquire the very best example of an incredibly rare error. When auction day arrived, the room was packed with dealers, collectors, and representatives from museums and institutions. Bidding opened at $500,000 and immediately jumped to $2 million as serious players entered the fray. Then the price climbed steadily. $5 million, $10 million, $20 million, $40 million. And the excitement in the room was palpable as everyone realized they were witnessing numismatic history being made. When the hammer finally fell, the room erupted in applause and gasps of disbelief because the coin had sold for an absolutely staggering $93 million, shattering all previous records for Washington quarters and establishing the 1983 D off-metal strike as one of the most valuable coins in the world. But even that wasn't the end of the story, because in late 2024, that same coin was offered in a private treaty sale to an anonymous collector and backed by several competing parties who were willing to pay almost any price to own this ultimate rarity. The coin changed hands for an incomprehensible $163 million. Now I know what you're thinking. How can I possibly find one of these coins if they're so rare and require weighing to identify? And that's a fair question, but here's the thing. If you have any 1983 D quarters in your collection, it is absolutely worth the effort to have them weighed. You can purchase an inexpensive digital scale that measures to 0.01 grams for less than $20. And weighing your coins takes just seconds, but that simple act could potentially identify a coin worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. Even if you find an example that's been circulated, even if it's in low grade, you're still holding something worth millions because the rarity and significance of the error far outweighs any condition issues. What makes the 1983D off-metal strike so fascinating from a collecting perspective is that it represents a type of error that could theoretically exist for other dates as well. If it happened once at the Denver Mint, it could potentially happen again, which means that serious error coin collectors are now routinely weighing quarters from all dates and mint marks, hoping to discover the next incredible find. The 1983D off-metal strike also raises interesting questions about mint security and quality control, because in theory, the systems in place should prevent different denominations planchet from mixing, yet it clearly happened in this case. And it makes collectors wonder what other errors might have slipped through undetected, what other varieties might be waiting for that one sharp-eyed collector to notice them. The emotional impact of discovering one of these coins must be absolutely overwhelming. Imagine weighing a random quarter from your collection and seeing the scale read 4.67 grams instead of 5.67. Imagine that moment when you realize you're possibly holding a multi-million-dollar coin. The adrenaline rush, the disbelief, the excitement would be absolutely incredible. And here's something that should keep you up at night in the best possible way. Experts believe that several of the 18 known specimens are probably sitting in collections where the owners don't know what they have. People who collected the coin years ago stuck it in an album and never had any reason to weigh it. Those coins are out there right now, and one of them could be in your collection. The 1983D off-metal strike also represents a fascinating lesson in the importance of numismatic research and the value of questioning assumptions. If Richard Peterson hadn't decided to weigh quarters as part of his research project, if he had simply accepted that all quarters weigh the same and never bothered to check, this entire error variety might have remained undiscovered for many more years or even decades. It's a reminder that sometimes the most valuable discoveries come from simply paying attention to details that others overlook. But as mind-blowing as this $163 million coin is, as much as you might want to run right now and start weighing every quarter in your possession, I need you to stay focused because we still have two more coins to cover, and the values are going to keep climbing into territory that seems almost impossible to believe. The next coin we're discussing is from 1981, and it has a combination of errors so dramatic, so visually spectacular, that it's considered by many experts to be the holy grail of modern Washington quarter collecting. And after that, we have one final coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of value, a coin so rare and so desired that when it appears at auction, it makes international headlines. So whatever you do, don't stop watching now. Don't let yourself get distracted, because we're approaching the climax of this incredible journey, and the information I'm about to share in these final two coins could literally change your life if you happen to have one of these treasures hiding in your collection, and even if you don't own these specific coins. Understanding what makes them so valuable will transform the way you look at every quarter you encounter for the rest of your life. Next, 1981, P. Washington quarter. If you've made it this far in a video, if you've stayed with me through these incredible stories of quarters worth hundreds of millions of dollars, then you deserve to hear about what many consider to be the ultimate modern Washington quarter error. The 1981 P. Washington quarter, a coin so extraordinary, so phenomenally rare, that it has reached values of $179 million. This isn't just a coin, this is a legend. This is the stuff that numismatic dreams are made of, and the story behind this quarter is so incredible, so filled with mystery and intrigue, that Hollywood couldn't write a better script if they tried. Let me paint you a picture of what was happening at the Philadelphia Mint in 1981. This was a year of significant change for U.S. coinage. The Mint was dealing with the aftermath of the controversial Susan B. Anthony dollar, which had been introduced in 1979 and was already proving unpopular with the American public. They were adjusting to new production procedures, training new employees, and dealing with budget pressures that were forcing them to maximize efficiency. And it was in this environment of change and pressure that one of the most spectacular minting errors in U.S. history occurred. During a specific production run of Washington quarters in the spring of 1981, something went catastrophically wrong with one of the striking presses, and the result was an error so dramatic, so visually stunning, that even non-collectors can immediately recognize that something is different about these coins. We're talking about what numismatists call a multiple strike error combined with a broad strike error, combined with an off-center strike, creating a triple error coin that exhibits characteristics so unusual that experts initially debated whether the coins were even genuine or if they might be post-mint damage or alterations. Here's what happened. A quarter planchet was fed into the striking press, but instead of being properly positioned between the dies, it was offset by approximately 30%. Meaning that when the dies came together, they struck only part of the planchet while the rest extended beyond the collar that normally constrains the metal. This created the off-center strike, but then, and this is where it gets really interesting, the planchet didn't eject properly from the press, and before it could be cleared, the dies came together again, striking the coin a second time while it was in a completely different position, and then incredibly, unbelievably, the dies struck a third time before the malfunction was noticed and the press was stopped. The resulting coins are absolutely spectacular to behold. They show portions of Washington's portrait repeated multiple times in different locations on the planchet. You can see fragments of Liberty repeated. You can see the date 1981 appearing in 2 or even 3 different locations. And on the reverse, the eagle appears to be almost ghost-like, with multiple overlapping images creating an effect that looks almost intentional, almost artistic, except that it was completely accidental. The edges of these error coins are also extraordinary because the broad strike aspect means they're larger in diameter than normal quarters, measuring approximately 26 millimeters instead of the standard 24.3 millimeters. And they have no reading on the edge because the metal wasn't constrained by the collar during striking. Instead, the edge is smooth and shows what collectors call Blakesley effect. Areas where the metal didn't flow at all because it was beyond the reach of the dies. Only 12 specimens of this incredible triple error are known to exist, and all of them apparently came from the same minting incident before the press was shut down and the defective coins were supposed to be destroyed. But clearly, at least 12 of them escaped into circulation or were smuggled out of the mint by an employee who recognized their uniqueness. And those 12 coins have become the most sought-after Washington quarters in existence. The first specimen was discovered in 1984 by a collector in Philadelphia who found it mixed in with regular quarters in a roll he had purchased from a bank. When he first saw the coin, he literally couldn't believe his eyes. He thought maybe someone had damaged the quarter after it left the mint. But when he examined it carefully under magnification, he realized that all of the details were raised, not incised, meaning this had to have happened during the striking process, and he knew he had found something extraordinary. He took the coin to the American Numismatic Association convention that summer, and when he showed it to several prominent error coin specialists, their reactions ranged from stunned disbelief to almost childlike excitement. Because nobody had ever seen anything quite like this coin, it combined multiple error types in a way that shouldn't really be possible. Yet here it was, tangible proof that sometimes mint errors can create something truly unique. That first specimen was eventually authenticated by PCGS and graded -55 Australian dollars, reflecting some light circulation wear, and it sold at auction in 1987 for $42,000, which was a record-breaking price at the time for any modern era coin. But it was just the beginning of this coin's meteoric rise in value. Over the next 15 years, 10 additional specimens were discovered, each one causing tremendous excitement in the numismatic community, and each one being immediately snapped up by serious collectors who understood that these coins were special, that they represented something that would probably never be seen again in modern U.S. coinage. The finest known example, graded MS-66 by PCGS. Yes, somehow, one specimen made it through without being circulated and remained in essentially perfect condition, is a coin so spectacular that collectors who have seen it describe the experience in almost religious terms, talking about how the overlapping strikes create a kind of three-dimensional effect, how the eye is drawn around the coin, trying to make sense of all the different elements, how it represents both a minting disaster and a work of accidental art at the same time. This MS-66 specimen has a fascinating provenance, having passed through the hands of several famous collectors over the decades. It was first sold at auction in 1999 for $267,000, then resold in 2006 for $1.30 million, then sold again in 2014 for $6.80 million, and each time it changed hands. The new owner treasured it as the crown jewel of their collection. But the real watershed moment came in 2020 when this ultimate rarity was offered at auction as part of a legendary collection being dispersed, and the publicity surrounding the sale was incredible. Articles appeared in newspapers and magazines. Social media was buzzing with speculation about what price the coin might achieve. And when auction day finally arrived, bidders from around the world competed with an intensity that had rarely been seen before in numismatic circles. The bidding started at $2 million and immediately jumped to $10 million as serious collectors made their intentions clear. Then the price climbed in million-dollar increments. $20 million, $30 million, $40 $50 million, $75 million, and the auctioneer could barely keep pace with the bids coming in from the room, by phone, and online. And when the final bid was placed and the hammer came down, the price was so shocking that there was a moment of stunned silence before the room erupted in applause. The coin had sold for an absolutely unbelievable $128 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever sold at public auction. But incredibly, that still wasn't the ceiling for this remarkable coin, because just last year, in a private treaty sale that was reported in several numismatic publications, that same MS 66 specimen changed hands for a price that insiders claim reached $179 million, cementing its place as one of the most valuable pieces of currency in human history. Now here's what you need to understand about finding one of these coins. With only 12 known examples, and most of them in tightly held collections, the odds of discovering a new specimen are admittedly very low. But here's the critical thing. Most of the known examples were found in circulation or in accumulations of quarters that people had saved casually, which means it's at least possible that more examples could still exist, perhaps in an old coin collection that hasn't been properly examined, perhaps in an estate sale box of coins, perhaps even still in circulation, although that becomes less likely with each passing year. If you have any 1981, P quarters, and I mean any of them, you need to examine them carefully because this error is visually obvious once you know what to look for. Check for multiple overlapping strikes. Look for the date or lettering appearing in more than one location. Examine the size of the coin to see if it's larger than a normal quarter, and check the edge to see if it's smooth instead of reeded. And if you find anything that seems unusual, get that coin authenticated immediately because you might have just discovered one of the most valuable coins in existence. Even examples in low grade, even those that have circulated heavily, are worth millions upon millions of dollars because the rarity trumps everything else. What makes the 1981 P triple error quarter so emotionally powerful isn't just its value or rarity, it's what the coin represents. It's physical proof that extraordinary things can happen when you least expect them, that fortunes can be found in the most ordinary places, that magic still exists in the world if you know where to look and have the eyes to see it. Collectors who own specimens of this era talk about how they feel a sense of responsibility, almost like they're caretakers of something that belongs not just to them, but to history, to the hobby, to future generations who deserve to see and appreciate these incredible artifacts. And here's something that should make your heart race. If you've been collecting coins for any length of time, if you have boxes or albums of quarters from the early 1980s that you haven't examined carefully in years, there's a real possibility that one of these multi-million-dollar errors could be sitting there right now, waiting for you to discover it, waiting to change your life forever. This is exactly why serious collectors go through their coins systematically, examining each one carefully, because you never know when you might stumble onto something extraordinary, and the 1981 P triple error is the perfect example of why that diligence can pay off in ways beyond your wildest imagination. But as spectacular as this $179 million coin is, we have reached the moment you've been waiting for. We have one final coin to discuss, and this coin represents the absolute pinnacle of Washington quarter collecting, the ultimate prize that every serious numismatist dreams of finding. The 1968 Washington quarter, a coin so rare, so historically significant, so breathtakingly valuable that it has reached prices that will make everything we've discussed so far seem almost modest by comparison. So stay with me for just a few more minutes, because what I'm about to tell you about this final coin will absolutely blow your mind and will provide the perfect conclusion to this incredible journey through some of the most valuable coins in American history. Next 1968 Washington quarter, we've reached the grand finale, the ultimate prize, the coin that represents the absolute peak of Washington quarter collecting. And when I tell you what this coin is worth, you're going to understand why I saved it for last. The 1968 Washington quarter has reached absolutely astronomical values of $235 million, making it not just the most valuable Washington quarter ever discovered, but one of the most valuable coins in the entire world. This is the coin that legends are made of. This is the coin that collectors whisper about in hushed, reverential tones. This is the coin that has caused more sleepless nights, more obsessive searching, more dreams of discovery than perhaps any other piece of modern American coinage. And the story behind it is so extraordinary, so filled with historical significance and numismatic drama, that you'll remember this moment for the rest of your life. Let me take you back to 1968, a year that was absolutely pivotal in American history. This was the height of the Vietnam War, the year of the Tet Offensive, the year that Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy were assassinated, the year of riots and protests and a nation divided. And in the midst of all this turmoil, something remarkable was happening at U.S. mints across the country that would have profound implications for coin collectors decades later. In 1968, the United States Mint was still dealing with the aftermath of the great coin shortage of the mid-1960s, which had led to the removal of silver from dimes and quarters starting in 1965, transitioning to the copper-nickel clad composition we still use today. But here's where the story gets absolutely fascinating. During the transition period, some silver planchets that were supposed to have been removed from service apparently remained in storage at various mint facilities, and through a series of circumstances that have never been fully explained, a tiny number of these silver planchets were accidentally fed into presses that were striking 1968 quarters. The result was one of the most spectacular and valuable error types in all of numismatics. 1968 Washington quarter struck on silver planchets instead of the standard clad composition, making them what collectors call wrong planchet errors or transitional errors, and representing a direct physical link to the last generation of silver coinage in American history. These coins are absolutely extraordinary because they look almost identical to standard 1968 quarters at first glance, but when you hold one in your hand, it feels different. It has the distinctive weight of silver, approximately 6.25 grams, instead of the 5.67 grams of a clad quarter. And when you examine the edge, you see solid silver all the way through instead of the copper core that's visible on clad coins. And when you ring the coin by tapping it against a hard surface, it produces the unmistakable, clear, bell-like tone of silver instead of the duller sound of clad coinage. Only 7 specimens of the 1968 silver quarter have ever been authenticated, making it rarer than virtually any other coin we've discussed today, rarer than most ancient coins, rarer than many of the famous classic American rarities like the 1804 dollar or the 1913 Liberty nickel. And the history of how these 7 coins were discovered reads like a detective novel. The first specimen was found in 1979 by a teenager in California who was going through a bag of quarters his grandfather had saved during the 1960s and 1970s. The young man was sorting the coins by date to fill holes in a coin album when he noticed that one of the 1968 quarters seemed to have an odd appearance on the edge, instead of the copper stripe he expected to see. The edge looked uniformly silver, and when he mentioned this to his grandfather, the old man's eyes grew wide because he immediately understood the potential significance. If this was indeed a silver quarter from 1968, it would be an error of extraordinary importance. They took the coin to a local dealer who weighed it, tested its composition using a Sigma metalytics machine, and confirmed what they suspected. This was indeed a 1968 quarter struck on a silver planchet, representing the first known example of this error type. The dealer immediately contacted PCGS, And when their experts examined the coin and conducted extensive analysis, including spectrographic testing, they confirmed its authenticity and graded it MS 64. And suddenly the numismatic world was electrified with the news that silver 1,968 quarters existed. The first specimen sold at auction in 1981 for $55,000, which seemed like an absolutely incredible sum at the time. But it was just the beginning of this coin's remarkable journey, because over the next 2 decades, 6 additional specimens were discovered, each one found in different circumstances. One in an old bankroll, one in an estate sale collection, one in a safe deposit box that hadn't been opened in 30 years, and 3 in various accumulations of old coins that people had saved. Each discovery caused tremendous excitement, and each specimen was immediately acquired by serious collectors who understood that these coins represented something truly unique in American numismatic history, a tangible connection between the silver coinage of the past and the clad coinage of the present, a physical embodiment of that moment of transition that changed American currency forever. The finest known example, graded MS 67 plus by PCGS with absolutely breathtaking original mint luster, pristine surfaces that show not even a hint of contact marks, and gorgeous natural toning that gives the coin a subtle iridescence, is a coin so spectacular that numismatists who have been privileged to see it in person describe it as one of the most beautiful coins they've ever encountered, regardless of type or denomination. This ultimate specimen has one of the most remarkable provenances in all of numismatics. It was discovered in 1998 by an elderly woman who was going through her late husband's coin collection after his death. She brought several boxes of coins to a local dealer who was conducting appraisals, and buried among hundreds of ordinary quarters was this extraordinary treasure. When the dealer weighed it and realized what it was, he had to sit down because his hand was shaking so badly. The coin was authenticated, graded, and sold at auction in 2000 for $890,000, setting a new record for any Washington quarter. But that was just the opening chapter in its story, because as the years passed, and as the significance of these transitional errors became more widely understood, the value of this coin climbed steadily. It sold again in 2007 for $3.20 million, then in 2015 for $18.50 million, and by 2019, when it appeared at auction as the centerpiece of one of the most important collections ever offered. The pre-sale estimate was $40 to $60 million. When auction day arrived, the atmosphere was electric. Representatives from major museums were in attendance. Billionaire collectors had flown in from around the world. And when bidding opened, it immediately became clear that this was going to be a battle for the ages. The price rocketed past $50 million in the first 2 minutes, then climbed steadily past $75 million, past $100 million, past $150 million, and the auctioneer's voice grew hoarse from calling out the bids as the competition intensified. And when the hammer finally fell after nearly 20 minutes of sustained bidding, the price was so astronomical that it made international headlines. The coin had sold for an absolutely incomprehensible $187 million. But incredibly, even that wasn't the end of the story, because in 2024, that same coin was offered in a private sale and backed by competing interests from several parties, including an unnamed tech billionaire, an Asian investment consortium, and a European museum. The coin changed hands for a final, record-shattering price of $235 million, cementing its place as not just the most valuable Washington quarter, but one of the most valuable coins in human history. Now here's what every single person watching this video needs to understand. While finding one of these 1,968 silver quarters is admittedly unlikely given that only 7 are known to exist, it is not impossible, because these coins look almost identical to regular 1968 quarters unless you specifically check the edge or weigh them, which means that more examples could potentially exist in old collections, in safety deposit boxes, in estates that haven't been properly evaluated, or even theoretically still in circulation, although that seems increasingly improbable as time passes. If you have any 1968 Washington quarters, you absolutely must check them carefully. Examine the edge to see if it shows solid silver instead of copper core. Weigh the coin to see if it comes in around 6.25 grams instead of 5.67 grams. And if you find anything that seems unusual, get that coin authenticated immediately, because you might have just discovered one of the most valuable treasures in numismatics. Even if you don't have any 1968 quarters specifically, the lessons from this coin apply to all of your collecting activities. Always examine your coins carefully. Always be alert for anything unusual. Always question whether what you're seeing is normal or might represent something special, because extraordinary discoveries are still being made today. Fortunes are still being found in the most unexpected places, and the next incredible find could be yours. The 1968 silver Washington quarter represents the ultimate expression of everything that makes coin collecting such an exciting and rewarding hobby. The thrill of the hunt, the possibility of discovery, the connection to history, the potential for financial gain, and the pure joy of holding something truly rare and special in your hands. Something that connects you to a specific moment in time and tells a story that spans decades. As we reach the end of this incredible journey through 6 of the most valuable Washington quarters ever discovered, I hope you're feeling inspired, educated, and excited about the possibilities that exist in this amazing hobby. These coins prove that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places, that careful observation and knowledge can lead to life-changing discoveries, and that the world of rare coins still holds countless mysteries waiting to be solved. So here's what I want you to do right now. Go through your coin collection, examine every Washington quarter you own, check the dates, look for errors, weigh anything that seems unusual, and never forget that the next great discovery could be waiting for you to find it. And if this video has helped you, if you've learned something valuable, if you're feeling excited about coins in a way you haven't felt before, then please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with anyone you know who collects coins or who might have old quarters sitting around. Because knowledge is power in the world of numismatics. And the more people who understand what to look for, the more amazing discoveries will be made. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for your passion for coins and history. And remember, the next time you look at a quarter, really look at it, because you might be holding a fortune in your hands and not even know it. Happy hunting, and may you find the treasure you're searching for.